What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 40 of the Hoop Venue podcast. My name is Tyler, and as always, I'm joined by my great friend Sean. Dude, it's crazy. 40 episodes is crazy.
I was just about to say that. That's insane.
It feels like we just started this. Like, I feel like I remember us texting and being like, yo, we should try out a podcast. And then now we're 40 episodes in. We're in the NBA playoffs. This season, in general, just kind of like flew by, I feel like. But today is Saturday. This is one of the first times we're actually going to upload this episode on the day we record it. So this will be uploaded as soon as we're done recording. And that means we are a couple hours removed from a full slate of 4 NBA playoff games. Today the games are Heat and Cavs.
Yep.
Thunder Grizzlies. Then it is, what's the game after that?
Nuggets Clippers,
and then Rockets Warriors tonight. So today we're just going to talk about the other 8 teams, the games that either were played tonight or last night or the night before that, and aren't playing today. Because now we're 3 games in, and we're starting to see some things shape up. I feel like game 3 is usually where you can really see who has the momentum and what direction a series is headed in. And all of these series are 2-1, I think. Yeah, they're all 2-1. So I'll let you start it off. Where do you want to
go? Let's go out to Orlando.
I like that.
Let's go to Orlando. Orlando gets the big game 3 win at home, kind of rallying back. With Boston, it's a lot of it. You don't overreact at all to Boston.
Yeah.
They've earned the ultimate benefit of the doubt. It'd be nice if Kristaps would show up and play well. Down the stretch, they were hunting for Kristaps in space, and Franz got downhill several times. And when Franz he shot 13 threes, so he had 3. I want to maintain this sentiment. I really, really hope that they don't break up Franz and Paolo. So that's kind of one of my bigger NBA stances is Pelicans don't trade Zion, Magic don't trade and break up Franz and Paolo, because they've single-handedly made this somewhat of a series. Even going back to game 2, game 2 was more so Paolo, who had 32, and there was no Tatum in game 2. But even Franz, he had 25. He just couldn't hit anything from 3. Sounds familiar. And then in game 1, for a little bit, it was Paolo kind of keeping them just above water. And again, Franz had 23 in game 1 as well. So this is kind of how Orlando has to win basketball games, because they just do not have enough offense whatsoever. I like Anthony Black a lot, but still not fully developed as an offensive player. I think he doesn't get a ton of touches either, so a lot of his production is going to come off the catch, and he's just not a consistent enough of a shooter yet. But Paolo and Franz, these 2 uber athletic and just downhill creators, they are both 6'9" wings. And we talked about it a little bit off air with Paolo's efficiency and Paolo's rim pressure. He's averaging, I want to say it was 32, 9, and 4 on 55% true shooting.
Yep.
But with the true shooting bit, 1, he's shooting 68% from the free throw line in the series on 8 attempts. But 2, he's living in the mid-range and living from 3. And I don't want to say that's because of his inability to get to the rim, because I think we've seen enough from Paolo this season in general say he could just be a mismatch downhill. It's just the fact that there's nobody really on Boston from the mismatch, because in this series, he's 15% of his shot attempts are coming at the rim compared to 26% in the playoffs last year. But despite the fact, Paolo is awesome, Franz is awesome, Tatum is also awesome, and I think Orlando still probably got their 1 game. I don't see this probably extending still.
Yeah, I mean, Paolo's been hunting for guys like Derek White, Sam Hauser, Peyton Pritchard, and just playing in that mid-post area. And the thing about Boston is they're maybe the best team in the league at shrinking the floor, especially against a team like the Magic. The non-Paolo Magic players in this series are shooting 23.9% from 3, which is just absolutely unfathomably bad. 24% from 3. Is crazy. So for Paolo to even be producing, and it's not the type of fluky, hot shooting long twos. Like going back to the Cleveland series, I feel like Paolo was playing a lot like out in space in the pick and roll or just downhill. And he shot unsustainably hot on long twos. Like he made like 60% of his twos outside of 16 feet or something crazy. And that to me kind of felt like, okay, it's a 7-game sample. I don't know if we can really see that again. But this time around, it's a lot different. It's like I'm operating in that mid-post area. I'm going to get to this little bump midi from about 10 to 12 feet out. And those are just money for him. Those are just money shots for him. And also a big point in Paolo's favor, 2 big points in Paolo's favor of this series, taking good care of the ball. He's playing 42 minutes a game and averaging like 2.5 turnovers. That's a huge sign because that's something he struggled with in the past. Also been pretty good defensively. Like he had a big stop on Tatum in the clutch in Game 3. He's been switching across the board. He's been good on the glass, decent protecting the rim. Just overall, just like showing us what he can be. Because this level of play he's at right now, if you can just sustain this over a stretch and continuing to improve on the margins, we're talking about an All-NBA first or second team caliber player pretty easily. On the Franz point, specifically what you said about hunting for Kristaps on switches, yeah, I made a tweet. I made a tweet yesterday, and I kind of didn't want to come off as a hater because I don't like speaking negatively about players if it's like uncalled for, but I made a tweet about Porzingis, and it was Porzingis is probably the player in the league with the biggest disparity between idea and reality. And what I mean by that is when you look at Porzingis, the idea of him is I'm a 7'3" sniper who can attack mismatches in the post and shut off everything in the paint. And just that like descriptor alone would say, oh, this is a top 20 player in the league or a top 25 player in the league. But it's like all of the little in-between stuff that the Celtics are usually able to beautifully hide that showed up in Game 3, where it's, okay, yes, I can attack mismatches in the post, but if that 10 to 12 foot short mid-range jumper isn't automatic for a game, you see the process behind attacking those mismatches is just really, really wonky. Like he's not getting a smaller guy bullying his way in and getting an easy shot. He's just turning and shooting over them. So if the shot goes cold, all of a sudden he can't attack switches. And against a team like Orlando that plays all of these big physical wings, they're just switching everything and pushing him out and forcing him into tough shots. In the series, he's shooting 28% from the field and 0% from 3. So just bad offensive production. Also, because Boston at all times has 4 ball handlers, shooters, and decision makers on the court, Kristaps quite literally never has to dribble the ball. He never has to dribble the ball, and he basically never has to pass. His entire role is, I'm going to have a shot created for me, and then I'm going to make that shot. So again, if the shot making isn't there, the offensive value isn't there. On the defensive side of things, when it comes to altering shots at the rim, he's probably one of the 5 or so best players in the league. Like, you cannot score on the guy if he's there in the paint. But, like I said, Boston's ability to rotate, shift, and switch around him kind of protects him and makes it so he never has to defend in space. Then you get a game like Game 3 where they're actually just giving up the switch to Franz, and now he's forced to defend on switches, and all of a sudden Franz is getting to the rim over and over and over again, and the Celtics just can't stop him. And I guess my kind of takeaway, and I actually want to know your opinion on this, because Kristaps is obviously still a really, really good player. I just went on a little rant. He's obviously still an all-star caliber player, but like, am I crazy for thinking, and this kind of takes me back to last year's playoffs, am I crazy for thinking that the Celtics are better when Horford's at the 5?
In this series, I can understand that, especially.
What about like a Cleveland series?
Yeah, because then like if we're just gonna concede the switch, okay, I'm Donovan Mitchell, bring me Kristaps, or okay, I'm Darius Garland.
I feel like it's pretty matchup dependent because then I'm thinking about like OKC, and I think Kristaps is better against OKC just because of the ability.
Indiana?
Horford, I think that's Horford.
Okay,
I don't know because Kristaps. No, I'm gonna say Kristaps because I do think that's a series where you can really mismatch on and get small guards on him. Same with Cleveland kind of, but they do a lot of scram switching, and they're also just like really they have a lot of rim protection behind the play that Indiana doesn't have.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, but yeah, I just think I don't know if that's more so a Kristaps. The idea of Kristaps is better than the reality thing, or if it's just shout out Al Horford, man. Like Al Horford's 38 years old and he's still switching across the board, hitting his threes, making the right plays. Shout out Al
still
Horford.
got it.
He does. But yeah, I'm with you. I think this is a really bad matchup for Kristaps, so I do think these issues are like more glaring. But Tatum's looked really good process-wise. The shot hasn't been consistent, but he's been there. Derek White's been awesome. Jaylen Brown's been really, really good. And yeah, I do think this is still a 5-game series. Now, if Orlando takes game 4, now I'm pretty interested because I don't think that they still force this to be like a really tough series, but it just makes things a lot more interesting. Now you have my eye if you make things 2-2. And yeah, I just want to give all the credit to Paolo and Franz because the way I think Franz kind of specifically game 3, but Paolo games 1 through 3 has just looked like a legitimate superstar. He's been amazing.
Give this team Jalen Suggs back going into next season.
Mo Wagner too.
Mo Wagner back next season. And find like anybody that can consistently hit some perimeter shots.
Yeah. It's crazy how they thought KCP was supposed to be that for them.
Yeah.
And then he just forgot how to shoot. What happened? Like,
KCP's not been good this year.
That's crazy to me. But also, I want to give credit to Orlando's team defense because their team defense is just so good. Like I said, all these big physical wings, lots of switching, dominating the glass. They just do a really good job. They do a really good job of making everything tough for Boston's wings. And Boston's offense has looked really shaky for stretches when they're not getting like a bunch of volume threes from Pritchard or Derek White. Like whenever those guys aren't just gunning, Boston's offense has been stalled. So yeah, shout out to Orlando, man. I had Boston in 4. I think you did too.
Yeah.
They've made all these games interesting and they just stole one. So shout out to Orlando, man. They're definitely overperforming my expectations for the series.
Where do you want to go to next?
Oh, let's just stay in the East. Let's go Knicks Pistons because that also has been a magnificent series. Actually, I kind of want to start with this. Our big takeaway from game 2 was the Knicks have to find a way to involve Cat. Like, He just was not involved at all in the second half, just basically a spot-up shooter. They came in game 3, and they were like, we're going to get Cat going as much as possible. And he had a masterclass. Cat was absolutely amazing start to finish in that game. And he had some huge defensive plays as well. Like, he had a big block at the rim in the 4th. Yeah, let's start there. Like, how do you feel about the Knicks offense when they got Cat going like that?
Yeah, I think one of the bigger things to take away from game 3, and this just really emphasizes the point that we were kind of touching on. In game 3, Jalen Brunson had 8 pick-and-roll ball handler scoring possessions. If we really quickly, and I should have had this pulled up already, if we go to Brunson in games 1 and 2, scoring possessions on pick-and-roll ball handler, out of pick-and-roll ball handler, in game 1. Hold on. Okay. All right, in game 1 he had 12. Game 2 he had 13. Game 3 he had 7. And even isolation, 5 scoring possessions compared to 8 in game 2. And they were really, really like purposefully involving Cat. They went inverted pick and roll a few times in the second half, got him going on some off-screen stuff, letting him isolate in space. The Knicks going from this very cookie-cutter vanilla type offense where it's, hey, spam pick and roll, spam pick and roll, spam pick and roll with Brunson and Cat. This wasn't the idea of bringing Cat in to just be a floor spacer. If that's the case, you could have paid, I don't know, random stretch 5.
Mike Muscala. Elio Winnick.
Oh, okay. You could have picked any other big except Mike Muscala.
First guy that came to mind.
Very insensitive. I have trauma with Mike Muscala. No, all seriousness. So I think that just gives Detroit something else to have to legitimately worry about. I think because Cat's a legit mismatch for a lot of the guys here in Detroit. OG be able to get back to playing this well offensively. Mikal playing this well offensively, and then it's not. And this is why like the whole offensive like versatility piece and like not just living with Brunson ball was so annoying because Brunson's gonna get his regardless. So why not just fully fletch out the offense? And Brunson wasn't ultra efficient, 1 for 7 from 3. Got to the line and like Brunson's going to, but now you just leave the room open for more high performances out of your other guys in Mikal and OG. And honestly, I thought this was going to be the game when Tim Hardaway Jr. just came out hitting everything. I was like, oh, we were talking about that. We were like, okay, like Detroit's going to have like the game where it's Beasley or it's Tim Hardaway Jr. They just can't miss anything, and that's going to be the game Detroit steals. The Knicks won that game.
They did.
So that's huge. And shout out to New York finally making an adjustment offensively and not having one of the worst playoff offenses in the league.
Yeah, I mean, another thing that you didn't even touch on that I was thinking about is they put the ball in Josh Hart's hands a lot more.
Yeah.
And had him play like the initiator role, which is a great way to counter the Pistons putting Duren on him because Duren wants to roam. He doesn't want to defend the ball and guard drives and things like that. So Josh Hart ended up with 9 assists. And to your point on like Brunson, like they're running more through Josh Hart, they're running more through Cat. They're doing some off-screen stuff for Mikal and OG. And Brunson walks out of this game with 30 points and 9 assists. Like, he's going to get his. He's one of the best on offensive players on the planet. And then when it comes down to crunch time, he's going to close the game. Like, I remember right after right when the minute, I think clutch time is considered last 5 minutes, right, by the NBA?
I think
is
so.
It last 5 minutes? Right when it got into the last 5 minutes, I believe it was Reggie Miller on the call, said, this man right here, clutch player of the year, is gonna bring this game home or something or is gonna look to bring this game home. And then the very first possession, he hits a huge pull-up three, and it's like, oh, there goes Jalen Brunson doing his thing, Mr. Walk him down. So I think I like the layered offensive attack, and then I like the leaning on Brunson in the clutch because of his on-ball reliance and the fact that you're gonna get a shot every possession. On your point, or to your point on Hardaway and Beasley. Beasley's shooting has been a serious problem in this series.
Yeah.
Like, to the point where the Knicks are almost leaving him open a lot more than they should be able to. And I want to give credit to Beasley because he's been really physical on defense. He's been pressuring the ball well. He's been doing everything else. Like, he had a big poster dunk in the fast break in that game. But, like, the shooting has to be there. Like, you're getting paid to be a shooter. And then if you're not a shooter, now you need to get another guy in the court, and then you're shrinking the floor against Cade, and Cade starts turning the ball over. And shout out to Cade, because he still did perform really well. But, yeah, man, I think the Knicks really showed us something in Game 3. If that's their offensive approach moving forward, they had like a 121 offensive rating in this game. And if that's their approach moving forward, I think I'm back on like my Knicks in 6 train. I think I moved them to 7 last episode just because I didn't trust the offensive approach. But if this is what it's going to look like moving forward, like you said, they survived the Hardaway game. Also, Dennis Schroeder shot 4 of 6 from 3 in that game. As a team, the Pistons shot 43% from 3 in that game. And they still lost. And I think that's like a huge point in favor of the Knicks.
Yeah. Any other, like, I don't know, like, there's any other thoughts? Like, I think we talked about Knicks Pistons a lot already. And then the biggest thing about it, Game 3 was like, oh, okay, they made the offensive approach change, and Cat was awesome.
Ooh, Paul Reed. Paul Reed had the loudest 8 rebounds I've ever seen in my life.
I saw that tweet.
Yeah, like, dude. Paul Reed. Shout out Paul Reed. Also, shout out Jalen Duren, because we talked about it last episode. He's been really good in this series on both ends. I love Jalen Duren.
Through 3 games, Detroit is the 4th best playoff 3-point shooting team, and they're down 2-1. Teams above them, the Cavs through 2 games, the Clippers through 3 games, and the Warriors through 2 games.
Yeah, wow, interesting. I wasn't expecting the Warriors. Cat, I want to just read you Cat's numbers. Shooting 67% from 2 and 39% from 3 in this series. If you take away the Game 2, like, because Game 2 really drags his averages down, but dude, 68% true shooting.
That's insane.
Yeah, he's been balling. He had 31 in Game 3. 31. Let me check the efficiency. He had in Game 3 he had 31 on 74% true shooting, and in Game 1 he had 23 on 77% true shooting. So that Game 2 where he was kind of just iced out of the offense and relegated to a spot-up role doesn't do justice to how good he's been in New York's 2 wins. And anytime you get a performance like that from Cat, the Knicks are just going to be really hard to beat.
Yeah. Never mind. I was going to say something that would have led to a negative Knicks conversation. We're going to stay positive about the Knicks for the time being. I think they played. They play tonight or they play tomorrow.
The Knicks, they play tomorrow.
Okay.
They play tomorrow. Yeah, they play tomorrow. Okay. Let's go out west. Do you want to go Lakers Wolves or wait? No, we have another East series. I'm tripping. Pacers Bucks. The Bucks stole a game. They stole a game in kind of convincing fashion. What did you feel about that game 3? Like, do you think it told us anything, or do you think it was just like a win on their home floor and you still are comfortably leaning towards Indiana?
I'm still fairly comfortably leaning towards Indiana. One of the things that I do think we called correctly heading into the series with Indiana, specifically defensively, is not everybody can be a good, like, rotating team. I hate watching Indiana, like, scramble. They, like, are noticeably not good at scrambling away from the ball. We're honestly, like, shout out Gary Trent Jr., but, like, objectively, a lot of those, like, God, like, Indiana can't scramble worth anything.
Yeah.
And which is tough because kudos to Milwaukee. They put Indiana in a lot of positions where it was, okay, Gary Trent's hit 3 in a row, and it's Giannis downhill where you cannot stop him, or it's, okay, cool, Giannis is posted up on the high post. Cool, we're going to soft double, and we're going to put Gary Trent Jr. one pass away where you're soft doubling from. And, like, you don't rotate well anyway, so Gary Trent Jr. is going to walk into a wide open, uncontested catch 2-3. So kudos to Milwaukee, I guess, for putting Indiana in that situation, which is why you get the game where both Giannis and Trent just go off for like 37 apiece, literally. And I think you had a tweet that does it. It's not surprising. The one game where they look this dominant is the game where they go Giannis at the 5 a lot and no Brook Lopez. I think Brook played, 16 minutes?
I think it was 14. 14 minutes. And no Torian Prince. He only played 3 minutes, I think.
So that's going to be interesting going forward, and that's going to be something where Indiana in Game 4, where honestly, like, I just don't think you double Giannis. I'm very much just saying, Giannis, go get 50.
Yeah.
And Dame has looked good. We're not going to let Trent or AJ Green just hit a gazillion threes on us. And then we're going to do a much better job, I think, attacking some of the switching, I think, defensively from Milwaukee. So I'm still leaning towards Indiana. I think maybe last episode I said Indiana in 5, which is still possible. Like, they win Game 4. I think they go back to Indiana and steal Game 5. Giannis in this series. He's
averaging 36, 14, and 5 on 69% true shooting.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't even, it's like Shaq. It's like peak Shaq, what he's doing to these Indiana Pacers. I almost feel bad watching it happen because, like, specifically, there was a play where he drove and he got met at the rim by Aaron Nesmith and got blocked. He got blocked by Aaron Nesmith at the rim vertically. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. And then there were 5 Pacers defenders, like, huddled around him. And he just stands up and just dunks the ball over all of them. And I was like, that reminds me of that picture of Shaq against the Nets in the finals where they're all crowding him and he just dunks. That's what it looked like. Like, Giannis is absolutely unstoppable in this series. If I'm Indiana, I'm playing Giannis in single coverage up top, and then I'm just bringing late help off of, look, Gary Trent Jr., AJ Green, and even Dame still. I know Dame's been cold, but do not leave any of those 3 guys, right? But Bobby Portis, Kevin Porter Jr., Kyle Kuzma, you have to show me you can make those shots because they haven't. Bobby Portis in the series, 32% from 3. KPJ, 17%. Kuzma, 14%. Those 3 guys, I'm bringing late help. I'm saying, Giannis, you get downhill, and I'm going to put, like, Miles Turner, for example, on one of those guys, and I'm just going to bring late help, and I'm going to go vertical. And I'm just going to make Giannis either make a late kick-out pass or try and finish through traffic. I think that's your best option because, yeah, this doubling and loading up early and then getting into rotation, it's not going to work at all. You cannot stop the Bucks when you do that, and they have too many shooters on the court. They've kind of, like, figured out their rotation. After kind of removing Brook Lopez, Torian Prince, and Ryan Rollins, they have a clean 7-man rotation. Right now it's Giannis, Trent, Portis, AJ Green, KPJ, Kuzma, and Dame. That's kind of like their 7-man rotation right now. And, yeah, it's just Giannis ball. That's all they're doing. They're playing Giannis ball. They're putting the defense in rotation. And, yeah, like you said, the Pacers can't rotate. And to the Bucks' point, on the other side of the ball, their rotating looked incredible in game 3. The way they ran shooters off the line and scrambled and protected the rim, they looked really good defensively in game 3. And I guess I kind of want to ask you this because they went with these smaller lineups, right? Where they're going 2 or 3 guards, Giannis at the 5, like you said. Sometimes Portis is in there, and they're switching everything, right? They're switching everything to take away the Pacers' advantages, and they're forcing the Pacers to play a lot of iso ball. Siakam looked really good in the mid post in this series in general. He's averaging 26 points on 60% from the field, but it's everyone else that kind of hasn't been able to produce against the switching. And I want to ask you what your adjustment would be offensively if you're the Pacers to counter the Bucks switching.
To counter the Bucks switching, admittedly, I really want to go back and rewatch Game 3.
Yeah.
I do want to say this with Halliburton, and this is probably like the offensive flaw in Halliburton. It's like he's just not this isolation creator. I still believe the fact that, like, I don't think he's this bad of a 3-point. I know he's not this bad of a 3-point shooter.
Yeah.
Like, he just hasn't hit anything from 3. Do you, like, invest in more, like, inverted pick and roll with Siakam?
Probably. Yeah.
Like, that's the first thought that comes to my mind. Because, like you said, like, Siakam's been awesome. He's been awesome all year. And at different points of the year, we both like gave him his credit. You gave him the All-Star nod. I didn't give him an All-Star nod, but gave him All-NBA third team nod because that makes sense. But I think investing a little bit into some Siakam and Halliburton or Siakam and Nembhard inverted pick and roll could do some good, because then that's going to force Milwaukee to make an adjustment. Look, are we going to put 2 on the ball? We're going to put, like, our 2, if for Indiana's standpoint, we're going to let Indiana have their 2 best decision makers operate with a 4-on-3 numbers advantage, or are we just going to concede the switch to Siakam and maybe load up, but then now we're having to scramble and be out of rotation, or that's how you get, you know, an extra uncontested look for a Halliburton or for a Nesmith. Shout out Aaron Nesmith. He had 18 in Game 3. He's been hooping this series. Yeah. I think there's some direction for Indiana to go adjustment wise. Like I said, I'll watch back Game 3 a little bit later on. What about you? What will be your adjustment?
Well, I was gonna start with the fact that the switching completely neutralized the pick and pop between Halliburton and Turner. Turner shot 1 for 9 in this game. But I also have
33% from 3 on the series.
Yeah. He was 0 for 6. He was 0 for 6 in Game 3. I have a fundamental disagreement with Rick Carlisle, though. In what happened in Game 3, because I think in Games 1 and 2, their recipe was Turner's going to play a bunch of minutes, like 30 to 35 minutes, and then when he checks out, we're going to run a lot of like Top and Siakam front court minutes, and we're going to like have kind of a small, fast, switchy type of approach to Milwaukee's bench unit. Mm-hmm. In this game, Turner went cold. They just pulled him. They were like, nope, you're not playing good enough. We're going to pull you. And they gave Thomas Bryant 21 minutes. And that made no sense to me. Like, Thomas Bryant, and they actually won those minutes. They were +1 with Bryant on the floor, but I think that is just a clear, like, misrepresentation of how those minutes looked on tape. Yeah. There's no reason for Thomas Bryant to be playing 21 minutes in a playoff series, let alone once against Giannis. That made no sense to me. And then now you can really do the switching thing, because Thomas Bryant is nothing. He doesn't give you anything offensively besides like an occasional 3, which is just a worse version of Miles Turner. So I don't get why they did that. That made no sense to me, and I think the offense just tanks when you get Thomas Bryant on the court against a defense that's looking to switch and looking to play fast and things like that. It just made no sense to me. So I think in Game 4, that'd be my first adjustment. Like, more Turner minutes, even if he's not shooting well. Less Bryant minutes. Go to the small ball lineup again, because that worked well. Also, like, the Pacers just shot bad from 3 in this game. Like I said, Miles Turner 0 for 6. Obi Toppin 0 for 4. Ben Shepherd 1 for 4. Mathurin 0 for 4.
0 for 4.
Yeah, I think, like, that's a point in Indiana's favor. Like, they'll probably shoot better next game. But, yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head when you talked about it with Halliburton. Like, when you compare him to other guards, like I'm thinking of Brunson specifically in the East, it's like you can't do this mismatch switching thing because then they're just going to clear out for him to beat his man in isolation, and he's too good of a scorer to do that against. But Halliburton's a very different type of isolation player. Like, he can get around the switch, but he's looking to pass. He's looking to create an advantage. He's looking to drive and kick and put the defense in rotation. Like I said, the Bucks rotated extremely well, and the Pacers got cold from three. And that, to me, is the type of game where you really need that ISO guy to be like, I'm going to get a bucket here. And Halliburton just doesn't have that type of inside the arc scoring game. And I think that's like the lone thing holding him back from being an MVP level offensive player. Because we've talked about everything else, the ability to create advantages on demand out of ball screens, the pull-up shooting, the transition play, the fact that he makes the right decision with the ball pretty much every time. The guy's an elite offensive player. And I think this is kind of a precursor to what we'll see in future rounds if Indiana does make it out of this series. Like Celtics, Cavs, defenses, switching everything, shutting off the paint, especially the Celtics. I just don't know what you do against the Boston. So yeah, it's tough. I think I still do have Pacers in 6 in this series. But yeah, you got to do something with you can't just keep letting Giannis do what he's doing. And then you can't play in rotation because you're not a good enough defense to rotate. Pray that Dame doesn't show up in this series.
Yeah, that's the one thing that kind of scares me.
If you start getting 30 balls from Dame, things are looking real dangerous. But yeah, I think the Pacers are okay. I think it was a really good game from the Bucks. I really liked what they do. I hope next game they just they keep doing this gimmicky Brook Lopez thing where they're like, we're gonna try him for 2 or 3 minutes. We're gonna start him, and then we're just not gonna play him the rest of the game. Just start with your best lineup. Why is Brook Lopez even in the rotation if you're never gonna the only time Brook Lopez should ever be on the court is if Thomas Bryant's on the court. I think I said that before the series too. So if Thomas Bryant plays 21 minutes, you go ahead and play Brook, man. Go ahead.
That's funny. Yeah, game 4 is tomorrow, so that'll be fun.
Yep, I'm looking forward to that. I hope the Bucks win. I want to see this series 2-2 going back to Indiana because then I think things get really interesting. All right, one more series to talk about. Last night, the Wolves jumped out to a 2-1 lead. What were your takeaways from that game and the series as a whole?
Luka was dying.
That's a good takeaway. It's a good takeaway.
Jaden McDaniels, same offensive player as Jared Vanderbilt.
Jaden McDaniels, man. Y'all got LeBron. Y'all got Luka. Y'all got Kevin Durant. But we got Jaden McDaniels.
You know what? If the Martians have the death beam pointing at Earth, no. So Ant hasn't been this unstoppable inside the arc scorer in this series, specifically like from mid range. I'm going to really quickly fact check that, but that's kind of been like something that I feel is the case in this series. And he's been a 44% 2-point scorer. So yeah, I feel like that's fairly accurate. And we've talked a lot about how Ant has taken steps throughout the season as a playmaker and as a decision maker, and he's still like compared to the elite guards and the elite offensive engines, he's still a somewhat flawed decision maker. Like, he's not consistently making the right pass or consistently making the right read, but I think this series is kind of like proven to me that the Ants, like, he's taken a significant step compared to last season, even compared to the regular season a little bit. I think, like, if you go back to the February game that they had against the Lakers, which was kind of like the basis of my video I did previewing the series, like, we're going to force Ant into making these decisions, and then if he is able to make these decisions, or he just becomes an ungodly 2-point scorer again, then we're cooked. And he's been like a really, really good decision maker, I think, in this series, especially when the Lakers have forced him to be a playmaker. Like, I feel like game 2 they really didn't. But or he more so wasn't able to be that playmaker. But games 1 and games 3, he's been a really, really, really efficient playmaker. And then add on the fact that when he wants to, he can still gets it a pull-up three. He had a big pull-up three down the stretch to
Yes,
break
he
the
did.
tie. And he scored or assisted on the last 13 points of the game. When Minnesota went on a 13-1 run, and you had the tweet.
Yes.
This is the reason why we picked Lakers in 6. Or I picked Lakers in 6. Because this is I get Luka was sick. But this is the textbook scenario we were talking about. 103 with 4 minutes and some change left. That is the game. Yeah, the Lakers win that game. The late game execution, or lack thereof, more importantly, from Minnesota throughout the entire 82-game season and throughout the 82-game season for the Lakers, and with them having Luka and LeBron. And you would have thought the Lakers were the team that, were a little bit more. I hate the experience argument. Minnesota made it to the conference finals. The Lakers look like the team that does have the high-level decision makers, and they just crumbled in the last 4 minutes, and Ant just rose to the occasion consistently down the stretch. And Minnesota overwhelmingly has 3 of the 5 best players in the series. That's the other thing too. So
yeah,
Minnesota up 2-1, and so push out Ant.
Yeah, in my videos, so I've done 2 Lakers Wolves videos. I did a game 1 video and a game 2 video. And in my videos, I've very specifically been focusing on the Lakers defense against the Wolves offense, right? The Lakers do that thing with their defense. We talked about this multiple times, where they're looking to push the ball baseline, send a low man over, funnel him into immediate help, and just force you to either live in the mid-range or make the pass one pass away, and then you're going to be in rotation. The counter in game 1 from the Wolves was to start Ant from the top of the key, empty the wings, and let him drive the gaps. And it worked beautifully. He consistently got the defense helping from even the strong side corner and just sprayed it out to shooters, and they got hot from 3. They hit a franchise record 21 made threes. Then in game 2, the Lakers countered that adjustment by essentially zoning up every time Ant got started to play from up top. They would send the 2 corner defenders way up to the elbow, left and right elbow area, to basically shrink Ant's driving lanes and either force him to take a step back 3 or make a skip pass over the top of those gap defenders. It was usually LeBron and Reeves zoning up in the gaps. And Ant ended that game with 0 assists. He had 9 assists in game 1, 0 assists in game 2 against this new defensive strategy. And I haven't rewatched game 3 yet. So I want to ask you, did you see anything that the Lakers did differently defensively from game 2, or that the Wolves did differently offensively from game 2 that got Ant back to getting downhill, and then he got 8 assists? Was there anything different?
I do think the Lakers' rotations along the baseline weren't as crisp. There's a possession in my mind specifically. This is the Nas 3. So I think pushed them up 7 late, where I think this is just Ant reading the floor a lot better. Rui is stuck playing 2. He's playing Randall and he's playing Nas away from the ball, which again, I don't know, lack of preparation maybe. The Lakers should know that they are going to pair those 2 guys up on the wings a lot with each other. Ant drives baseline, defense shifts down, and Ant makes the correct skip pass. I think honestly that kind of goes to the consistency part that I was talking about with Ant as a decision maker, where on a game by game basis, he either appropriately sees the pass and sees the play develop in real time, or it's or maybe in that scenario he forces the ball corner and it's a turnover because the Lakers are bumping down to the corner appropriately, and they're leaving the 2 opposite wings and just playing 2 in that spot. One thing the Lakers did a little bit more down the stretch in that game is they did eventually start putting 2 on the ball. There was one possession where they put 2 on the ball with Ant, and Ant did hit the skip pass to DiVincenzo, but DiVincenzo just didn't shoot one reason or another.
The one where he was on the right wing and he made just a ridiculous skip pass to the left corner,
and it was DiVincenzo. DiVincenzo
I
didn't
think
shoot.
It was DiVincenzo. There's a pass in my mind that I can't remember who it was to, but he got trapped deep on the right wing and pivoted and threw a jump one-handed pass, and it was on the money.
Yeah,
and that was a ridiculous pass.
So I think some of it is the Lakers rotations weren't that good. I think this is the key with the Lakers defense, and I know that we've talked about the biggest strength of their defense is they're rotating away from the ball. it's still dependent on them just not getting obliterated off the bounce, and it just didn't matter. Like, Dorian Finney-Smith had his worst game as a Laker. Rui and Austin can't guard in space. I think Austin's actually pretty fine. It's just we were asking him to guard.
I like Reed's physicality in this series, especially on Randall. He's been really physical against Randall.
Yeah. Luka, I mean, obviously was just dying out there apparently, but like even then, but that kind of like that makes it even weirder. Like, why we know Luka's like is struggling? Why are we just giving Anthony Edwards a Luka Doncic switch?
Yeah.
What's your adjustment heading into Game 4 if you're the Lakers? Because I honestly feel like my adjustment's still the same, and I am putting 2 on the ball with Ant and trusting these other guys to be playmakers.
Yeah, it's tough because specifically when Gobert's screening, they have been hedging every time to get the ball out of Ant's hands. But against every other screener, they're just giving up the switch really easily. They're just letting him walk into switches. And we talked about this last time. I think switching's okay, but don't make it to where the offense knows it's coming every time.
Yeah.
Like, mix it up at least a little bit. Because if the offense can just walk into a brush screen 40 feet away from the basket and come into the backcourt with the switch they already want, now you have a 19-second shot clock against an instant mismatch.
Yeah.
And that's just too easy. But actually, I think the bigger problem is the Lakers' offense. Like, when do we start worrying about the fact that the Lakers just had a series high 105 points? When does that become, like, kind of a worry?
It is a worry because they can't attack. They can't beat switching. That's been the thing all year long. The Lakers' offense significantly crumbles against 2 things: drop and switching. The drop hasn't been as much of a concern because Luka's a drop counter in and of itself, and teams are scared to death to play drop against Ant. I mean, against Ant too, but against Luka, which because teams aren't putting 2 on the ball or teams aren't playing drop. Now that also neutralizes entirely what Jack Hayes does for you offensively, because he does absolutely nothing else. And I wanted more Jack Hayes after Game 1, Game 2, and Game 3. Jack Hayes has legitimately not been good. And I think LA coming in kind of anticipated them to do a little bit more hedging with Rudy or with Nas or whatever. And Minnesota, for the most part, I mean, they put 2 on the ball, especially late. But for the most part, it's been a lot more like switching. I don't think the Lakers have like countered that at all. And now because they don't counter switching well, which is a coaching thing, that's how you get down the stretch. It's just stagnant offense, and Luka holds the ball for 7. This is not me. This is not an anti-Luka statement, by the way. Luka holds the ball for 17 seconds because we're not doing anything, and that's how Braun shoots one of the worst shots ever. It's Luka dribbled, and I think on that possession, why Braun was forcing that shot, I think Luka drives it, and he gets stuck, so he finds Dorian barely, who's like trying to like get open and be a release, and then he finds Braun, and then Braun like scrambles or whatever and just shoots that. But again, like the Lakers have for a team of Luka, LeBron James, and Austin Reeves, they couldn't like attack switching worse. And then the role players haven't played well, particularly in this. I think Gabe's been fine, but I think like Gabe's been hovering around 15 minutes because I think the Lakers don't want to get too small in this series against Minnesota, but like objectively, Gabe's been like their 4th best player. I think that's like honestly fair.
What do you make of Rudy Gobert in this series?
I'm so glad you brought Rudy up. I forget if I said this already or not in a previous show, but Rudy does not get played off the floor because of his defense. He gets played off the floor because of his offense. Can we stop that dumb? I was about to say
he's
something.
Been fine. Like, he's been fine on switches. He's been really good. Like, I've always felt Gobert's kind of worst defensive quality wasn't the switching. The switching's always kind of, I mean, maybe back in like 2017 the switching was questionable, but since like 2021 he's been a perfectly fine switch defender in my opinion. The bigger thing has been like the help and recover without getting burned off the catch. And his defense against the pick and pops in this series, like dropping to play the ball and then getting out to DFS or Rui and then not getting beat on the closeout, to me has just been amazing. Like, I did not know he was capable of doing that in the way that he's been doing it. And to have that level of body control at 7'1" or 7'2" or whatever he is just kind of absurd to me. Also, on the topic of Rudy's body control, there were a few times in this series where he bit on a fake, like an up fake, but was able to regather his momentum and not fall into the offensive player and pick up a foul. And I don't know if there's another 7'1" player in the league who can do that. Besides, like, maybe Wemby, and Wemby's just an absolute freak. So, yeah, shout out to Rudy. The offense is, like, to your point, and I don't even know if it's necessary. I do think Rudy's obviously a deeply flawed offensive player. I do think people aren't giving him enough credit for the pressure he's been applying on the offensive glass. They're just looking at the rebounding numbers and saying he needs to get on the glass. But, like, the Lakers are sending 3 bodies to him pretty much every time, and then he's drawing a bunch of fouls on box outs and things like that. So I don't think his rebounding has really been a problem. I genuinely just think it's the fact that they want an extra shooter on the court. Like, your offense functions so much better when you have Naz Reid as a floor spacer, as opposed to Rudy kind of clogging up the driving lanes for Ant. And it's really that simple to me. That's why he's playing 24, 25 minutes in more of a specialized role in this series, despite the fact that the Lakers are going small. It's not because he can't defend in space. It's not because he can't rebound. It just makes sense to get another shooter on the court. Like, in this series, the Wolves have a plus 11 net rating with Rudy on the court. So if he's getting played off the floor, what do the other minutes look like? Rudy's been fine. Rudy's been fine. Also, one thing that I do like from the Lakers defensively is I do like the adjustment. We talked about this of playing Randall in single coverage and not letting him create open threes for other guys. But, like, shout out to Randall, man, because he's been taking those isolation matchups and just been a bully. Like, his physicality, his ability to get downhill, his ability to get to the line. Julius Randle, I had a tweet about this too. I'm so glad I no longer have to live through, like, people posting screenshots of a 15-game sample size across 5 years to say that Randall can't play in the playoffs or that he's going to shoot the Wolves out of this series. There were people in my replies when I said that the Lakers and Wolves were going to be a tough series saying, no, it won't. The Wolves have Julius Randle. He's just going to shoot them out of the games. And then a screenshot of his prior playoff field goal percentage from 2021. Randall's a good player, man. I don't know what else to tell you. Randall's a good player. And in this series, he's made a living out of attacking mismatches and playing one-on-one.
The Lakers' def lineup, or supposed def lineup in this series, 43 minutes, 78 possessions, 93 offensive rating. They're a minus 14, and per 100, they're shooting about the volume that you would expect from them. 43s per 100 if you round up, but they're shooting 25% from 3. That group. LeBron, Austin, Luka, Rui, Dorian Finney-Smith. Their best lineup in this series has played 6 minutes. It's played 15 possessions, and it is Austin, LeBron, Luka, Gabe Vincent, Dorian Finney-Smith.
I was just going to say that that's the lineup I would switch to.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I was just about to say that because I just think, like, the extra speed and the extra... Rui just hasn't been good in this series. Is that a hot take?
No.
And I love Gabe Vincent. I think Gabe Vincent's energy, especially in game 2, like, fueled that first and second quarter run. Like, when he drew, I think he drew 2 charges in a span of, like, a couple minutes. Hit some big threes. He's also an extra ball handler on the court, so you can get more creative with your offense as opposed to having Rui just kind of relegated to a spot-up role. Yeah, I'd explore that lineup more for sure. And it's like, the Wolves aren't going to, like, if you're worried about getting attacked with size, it's not like much is going to change for the Wolves anyways. They're just going to keep doing what they're already doing. So I think there's more benefits than drawbacks of getting smaller in that way.
And then you just get, like, a better playoff player on the floor.
That's what it is. Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
You got any other thoughts on this series?
Maybe this is the Braun watcher in me or whatever. I don't know. That's a terrible way to phrase that. But I went on a limb last night and said I don't think the Lakers lose Game 4.
Yeah, dude, LeBron in Game 3 was crazy. Did you see Anthony Edwards in the post-game interview?
He shot that thing from Yucatan.
Yeah.
Objective, like literally the third 3 and, like, the flurry of threes he hit in the fourth, like, was ridiculous.
The entire momentum shifted when he dropped that pass in transition.
Yeah. But even then,
I was so mad because instead of like he dropped the ball, he dropped the pass, and he was ready to shoot. You could see he was like starting his shooting motion while catching the ball. He was gonna launch that.
Yeah.
And I think he probably would have made
it.
Talk
about he didn't get back.
Yes, he sat there looking at his hands.
Yeah.
And then the Wolves got a transition and won, and that was like where the tide shifted. Like,
so I'm going to push back a little bit only because I would have agreed with you if the Lakers don't eventually tie the game up again. Because it was 199. Braun was for sure lost. He was damn near mid.
That's why he dropped it. He was so excited.
Oh my God, I'm up.
Yeah.
Whereas if that was when it was 103, and then he does the get back and Jaden gets acrobatic, if you will, like and one in transition, and they just never get the momentum back, I would have absolutely agreed with you. They were able to tie the game after that because they tied the game off the Luka push low floater shot over Rudy.
Yeah. And what do you make of like LeBron? Do you think LeBron gassed out? Because after that play in transition, it felt like he got like one more touch the rest of the game.
No, that's what I was about to say. Why did you not get LeBron James the ball?
Yeah, and maybe that's like part of the problem with like LeBron and Luka still trying to figure out how to coexist, or maybe it's a coaching thing.
Run nothing.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know because LeBron should have had the ball 90% of the time down the stretch.
If Luka was that bad, physically, like in terms of him being sick, give the ball to your other all-time great initiator. And I've not been a fan of Braun self-created looks, especially through games 1 and games 2. JJ even acknowledged it after the game that Braun looked considerably better, like health-wise, and I thought it was impressive that he was able to give this effort offensively while still being like a legit positive defensive player. Despite the fact he didn't get back a transition on that one play. Give him the ball.
Yeah. I think it hurts that like to see the Lakers waste this game from LeBron. Yeah. Because I don't want to like make any strong statements, but there's a chance that is the best game he has in this series.
Yeah.
And you don't want to lose that game from LeBron.
Yeah.
You just don't. Anything else on any of these matchups?
No, I'm glad that the only potential sweep. Wait, really quickly. This is not about any of these matchups. If Tyler Hero doesn't go off for 30 tonight, please shut up.
That game's in like an hour and a half, so I'm looking forward to that. Oh, we didn't do. So are you still? What's your prediction for Lakers Wolves? I think I said Lakers in 7 last episode.
I think that's the only way they win the series. They're not winning 3 straight.
Yeah.
They're not winning.
This is a series, man. And shout out to all the Lakers fans on Twitter gaslighting me for saying this is a tough series to predict and trying to say that I have a bias against the Lakers and that there was someone in my replies who said that I know ball on all 29 teams except the Lakers because I have a vendetta against them because I said that the Wolves would make things tough.
Yeah, and
like
I got gaslit into saying that this team like.
You said Lakers in 5, man. You let them gaslight you.
I said that's not what I was talking about. We don't have to acknowledge that. I was talking about the fact that I said that this team won't be OKC, and I just got
bro. Yeah. Like we're talking about the only way they get out of a Minnesota series, and Minnesota's a great team. But OKC, we'll talk about OKC probably in the next episode. OKC's pretty good. Alex Caruso's averaging 10.6 deflections per 75. We'll finish off on that stat. Appreciate you guys listening to episode 40, man. Make sure to follow us on social media. Sean's on Twitter at Sean_DAVI. He's on Instagram at Sean_Davis23. My personal accounts on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok are Tyler Britton. Hoop Venue on all platforms for all my basketball content. If you are watching on YouTube, you will see all of those links in the description. We'll catch you guys next time in episode 41. And once again, we appreciate you guys listening. Make sure to leave down in the comments what you think is going to happen for the rest of the first round.